Welcome, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to jump into today's explainer. We're going to be tackling something we all struggle with, those mental traps we just can't seem to avoid, and more importantly, the actual practical ways of escaping dark interpretations. Seriously, we're going to unpack how our internal state completely colors and, let's be honest, sometimes totally distorts our external reality. We're going to break down exactly how you can rebuild your thought processes from the ground up. So, if you're ready, let's get this mental journey started. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want to kick things off with a bit of a philosophical, maybe even slightly jarring question. Can the fears a person carries on the inside actually change everything they see on the outside? Just take a second and think about your own life. You know those days when you're just feeling completely down? Doesn't it feel like even the most ordinary things people do are somehow an attack or just deeply negative? That's the core issue we're looking at. Do we actually see the world as it is, or do we just see it as we are? Honestly, the answer to that question is pretty much the master key to our entire quality of life. Which brings us to Section 3, Two Different Perspectives, the allegory of the inner lens. To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to look at a classic allegory from our source material, specifically the second word. It is just a perfect representation of human psychology and belief systems. So the story kicks off with two men. They enter the exact same country, walking down the exact same paths. The objective data, the buildings, the people, the events happening right in front of them, it's all completely identical. There is literally zero difference in the physical reality they're experiencing. But the realities they actually describe to us, totally opposite worlds. How in the world can the exact same objective facts produce such wildly different results? And this brilliantly illustrates that exact contrast. Just think about the stark difference here. For the first man, he looks out and all he sees are funerals, painful separations, and just a place of deep mourning. He actually interprets the honorable discharge of soldiers as a robbery, like a total and complete loss. Now, flip over to the second man's view. He's looking at the exact same location, the exact same soldiers, but he sees a general festival. He sees an honorable discharge from duty, immense joy, and dynamic new recruits joining the ranks. It's the exact same event, but two completely different universes. So what's going on with that first man? Well, his internal world is just incredibly dark. The source text describes him as having bad morals and being highly pessimistic. And this pessimism, it basically acts like a dark, heavy filter glued over his eyes. Because of all the fears and insecurities he's harboring inside, he automatically codes everyone he meets as an enemy or a stranger. The world around him isn't actually dark, right? He's just projecting the darkness of his own mind straight outward. But then, in stark contrast, when we look at the second man, we see a totally different internal architecture. He's someone who thinks of the truth, he knows God, and he possesses good morals. His inner faith, his trust, and that naturally positive disposition act like a bright light, completely illuminating how he perceives the world. Because he knows there's a functioning order and a real purpose behind everything, he doesn't just see events as meaningless chaos. He sees them as parts of a conscious, deliberate system. Basically, because his inner lens is clean, he can perceive the beauty and order outside exactly as they actually are. Moving on to Section 8, The Secret of the Second Man, Breaking the Illusion. All right, so we've reached the absolute turning point of the story, the part where we learn how to actually break out of that terrible illusion. The second man approaches the first and delivers this historic realization to basically tear down his mental prison. He tells him, "The darkness inside you must have reflected on the outside. The country of such a disciplined and merciful ruler cannot be as you imagine." I mean, what a phenomenal insight. The disease isn't out there in the world, it's inside. The reality unfolding in front of us is not some ruthless, chaotic mess. The real issue is the broken mirrors within ourselves that we're choosing to view that reality through. So the absolutely crucial point here is that having a positive internal lens doesn't mean playing Pollyanna or just ignoring the real pain in the world. Having faith or having this incredibly strong belief system doesn't just deny that death or illness exist. Those things hurt, absolutely, no question. But what this faith does do is fundamentally deny the idea that these pains represent absolute nothingness and meaninglessness. The pain is real, for sure, but it's not without profound meaning. You see, a healthy internal perception allows us to see the true architecture of life. Life actually has an owner. We aren't just left to wander aimlessly in the dark. Every single duty we take on, every event we experience has a profound purpose. And most importantly, the journey has a continuation. What we so often mistake for a harsh finish line might actually just be a comma in the sentence of our existence. This underlying structure is what provides an unbreakable shield of hope against life's inevitable hardships.
Next up, Section 12. The difference between event and interpretation. Mapping the allegory to reality.
We've grasped the classic story now, but how does this actually apply to the daily stress you're feeling today? Let's take this philosophy and map it right onto modern psychology. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how incredibly fast our minds jump to dangerous conclusions. On the one hand, you have a completely neutral event, right? Maybe a failure at work or a difficult breakup. Objectively, it's just a data point. But look at the dark interpretation we attach to it. Our minds instantly leap to, I am worthless, or nothing will ever be good again. Just like that first man who saw a festival but thought it was a funeral, we interpret a temporary stumble as the literal end of the world.
There's a single core philosophy here that basically serves as our formula for freedom. The objective event itself and the definitive judgment we attach to it are entirely different things. The event you experience happens out there, on the outside. The meaning you give to it happens purely on the inside. Our absolute greatest mistake, which is totally driven by our inner fears, is blending those two things together. We end up grieving not over the actual event, but over the catastrophic, highly subjective scenarios we've completely made up in our own heads. And the source material offers a really powerful definition here. When it talks about cleansing the heart, it isn't talking about something overly mystical or out of reach. Cleansing the heart simply means deliberately separating your dark interpretation from the actual truth. It is not about denying reality. It's about putting the objective event right there on the table and systematically peeling off those toxic, subjective labels you've just slapped all over it. Let's move to the next part and see how this builds. Section 16. Escaping dark interpretations, the real-world application. All right, here is the practical application you've been waiting for. When that dark wave starts taking over your mind, you need a solid cognitive tool to escape those dark interpretations. And this two-step strategy is basically your key to mental independence. Step 1. Catch. The exact moment that challenging, pessimistic thought pops into your mind, you need to notice it. Don't judge it, just catch it, kind of like catching a butterfly in a net, and hold it completely still. Then, step 2, ask. Ask yourself this incredibly powerful question. What does this event definitively show, and what subjective meaning am I adding to it? The very second you separate those two, the illusion shatters. You're left with just the reality, and reality is always, always more manageable than your dark interpretation. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with more than just information. I want to leave you with a real provocative question. Think about your life right now. Which thought of yours do you urgently need to re-examine? Is the event itself truly that catastrophic, or is it just the darkness inside you reflecting outward? Once you clean that inner lens, you're going to be absolutely amazed at how much the world changes. Catch your thoughts, filter your interpretations, and illuminate your own reality. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.